Yo, what's up, guys? Henry here, and welcome to another podcast, the first in a while. I'm glad to say that I'm joined here by ChrisRM22. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be on the podcast, man. Good to
Yeah,
talk.
thanks for coming on. So obviously it's been quite a while since I did my last one. A lot's happened since then. The transfer window obviously came to a disappointing close. I think it's fair to say.
hmm
And we've had our first three games of the season. Are you seeing promising signs from the first three games? How do you think we've got on?
For me, I feel like all three games so far this season, we've played well in certain like spurts. I think the first half against Wolves was a really good half.
Hmm.
Yeah, we didn't really create that many chances, but it was good the way we were holding the ball against a team that does give us problems away from home. Chelsea in the second half, I thought we were really good, and then the second half against Crystal Palace this past weekend, I
Hmm.
thought we had a good half, but it just hasn't been able to accumulate into like a full 90-minute game.
Yeah.
We've always had that, and that's how like United have been really like the last couple seasons where they're good in spurts, but they're not able to hold a whole 90 minutes, and that's
Hmm.
what bites us in the end every single game.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. As you say, Chelsea the first game. I thought first half we were actually poor in that Chelsea. I've got to be honest. There were a
hmm
couple of times. Obviously, Emerson for Chelsea hit the woodwork. I can't remember if he hit. I think he hit the post, didn't he, or the
He
bar,
hit the crossbar, and
or the
then
crossbar.
Abraham hit the post in the
Oh, that's
second minute.
that's right. Yeah. So yeah, Chelsea really could have been two or three up in that first half. Second half
hmm
was excellent. I got to say. We didn't create many chances. I've got to be honest. I know when you look at a 4-0 win, you think, oh, you must have created loads of chances. We were just very clinical, and I think it's good to have games like that.
hmm
But then obviously that came back to bite us. Wolves first half, as you say, pressing was really impressive. That's one thing I did notice in that Wolves game. The pressing was fantastic.
hmm
Martial excellent finish. And then second half sort of fell apart. Heads dropped. That penalty miss, obviously, it's been infamously talked about constantly since that day. Heads completely went. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, as you say, spells. And then the Palace game. I've got to be honest. The Palace game wasn't great. It really wasn't. We had lots of problems in that Palace game. Really struggling to break down a deep block, which is not good to see at all. Because the amount of sides at the bottom of the table that we're going to have to face this season that do play
hmm
that sort of style. You need to be able to break down those sides. When we can't play on the counter, I mean, we do just look so naive. Just haven't got that creative outlet at all. And yeah, the Crystal Palace game has me worrying. I've got to be honest with you. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I don't know. We've got Southampton coming up at the weekend. Do you
another
think?
tough game.
Yeah, I know. I know. Every game's a tough game at the minute. I think you really have
Yeah.
got to worry with every game.
The thing is like we played, so I think Ole actually got it wrong against Crystal Palace
Mm.
because when you set up against a deep block at Old Trafford, we're supposed to be attacking the opponent. We're not supposed to be. It's not like a big game where he can play Daniel James on the wing. And I'm not singling out Daniel James, but like he is here for a purpose of counterattacking football.
Yeah.
He's got that lightning pace. He can, I haven't seen it yet, but he could probably get that killer ball, that last ball in. He should have played Juan Mata in against Crystal Palace. The reason why is because or Angel Gomez. I would have taken either one. Because those two are capable of breaking down a deep block,
Mhm.
and playing Jesse Lingard as a number 10. And I know like as he came up through the academy system, he was a number 10,
Mhm.
but the attributes that he has are off the ball. It's not like is good on the ball. I don't know if it's just me. I've seen him take so many loose touches this year, especially around the 18.
Mhm.
I'm like getting really worried about that because like you know it's like another Lukaku situation. We have to worry about someone's first touch where it should be about breaking down a deep block instead of actually having to worry about first touches and simple passes and stuff like that. I think you should have played one of those two creative midfielders. Lingard, I think, is good. Remember the front three last year: Rashford, Martial, and Lingard. They were good with the pressing and counterattacking football when we had that really hard patch of games. Arsenal in
Yeah.
the FA Cup and PSG and all those teams that we play in that little like 12-game run.
Yeah.
That is where I think those two players, specifically Daniel James and Lingard, are both usable. And I think in the games like again at home to Crystal Palace, like I want to know something as well. When Crystal Palace have 10 men behind the ball and they just leave one striker up top, why do we always, and this has been since Fergie, we've always played two defensive midfielders at home. Well, what's the
Yeah.
need for that? Because like for me, like Pogba has to drop so far back to he's like picking the ball up with against his center backs. We don't want him to be there, although he can pick out a pass if he wants to. I think he should be so much further up the field, or up the pitch. And I don't know, I just think he got the tactics wrong. I feel like he played it as if we were going to counterattack, but we end up keeping 75% possession. So
Yeah, I know. I do think that is one thing. I know I'm very critical of Ollie, but I think that is definitely one of his naiveties. I think everyone can agree on the constant attempt to try and play on the counter when you're against a side like Crystal Palace. You obviously cannot do that, and that really did show in that game. And as you say, I think you're completely right. Looking back on it, despite Daniel James's fantastic finish, it would have been better to just put Juan Mata in that role. You definitely need a creative midfielder like that. And is Mata good enough? He's not. I think a lot of us can agree on that. He's not good enough. But that's the only type of... I mean, that's worrying as well. That is the only type of that profile that we've got. The only creative midfielder, other than, as you mentioned, Angel Gomez, who... It's really tough on Angel Gomez to decide whether or not he's ready. Obviously, very small physically. But...
where's Fred?
I know.
Like, where is this guy?
I know.
He could play deeper defensively, and Pogba could go further up and play as that number 10. Why don't we ever try Pogba as a number 10? He is so good in the opposition half. We are just so persistent of putting him right in front of our center backs. The best part of Paul Pogba I've seen in this is now his fourth season or his third. It was that little 10-15 game stretch last year where Ole had him playing up the field more because he had the likes of Matic and Ander Herrera sitting behind them, able to do the work for Pogba. Now he has to recover the ball. He has to, pick out a pass like Scholes. He's got to distribute like Busquets. He's got to break down a defense like Xavi. Like, the expectations on this guy, like, I just think we're not using him in the right system. It's not a system that suits him. He's not supposed to be in his own half.
Yeah.
Like, that's not where he's supposed to be creating. He's supposed to be creating on the edge of the 18 within like the 25 yards. And that's what he should be doing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And not only is he obviously better going forward, but you remove his sort of, you remove any sort of problems you've got with him in his own half, playing around with the ball and struggling to pick a pass. You remove that completely, that liability, which obviously caused the second goal against Palace. Just the inability to play a quick pass, which is definitely something that I think Pogba has got to get into his game more. You can't completely blame the system, I don't think. I think Pogba has got to mature a bit more as a player. We did see him at times under Mourinho maturing and changing his sort of style, not going for those Hollywood passes as much. And I think he's just got to get back into that mindset. But I do agree the system is limiting him in some ways. Because obviously at the minute he's playing in a pivot with McTominay. The only time we've ever seen Pogba play when in a pivot, and this is over years and years and years, was at that World Cup with Matuidi. And Matuidi was excellent in that World Cup as a sort of active ball winner, which McTominay isn't in a way.
He's too raw. McTominay's too raw. Like, he's not the finished article yet. And Pogba's essentially that midfield. It's not McTominay. Like, McTominay's there to complement him in some way, but he is still yet to fulfill whatever potential Man United see in him. Whereas Pogba has to do, 5 or 6 different jobs. And I hate the criticism of him because, yes, he did turn the ball over in his own half, and people are going to look at him and be like, that's another turnover when he was just dribbling silly in his own half. But that goal happened. He turned the ball over 60 yards away from his goal. De Gea should have saved the near post.
Yep.
Wan-Bissaka unlucky with the tackle because he tackled it very cleanly, and it goes right into Van Aanholt's path for him to hit it on his favorite left foot. So, there was there was like a combination of things that had to happen for that goal to go in. Like it wasn't like, oh, Pogba just turned the ball over 60 yards from his goal and then they all go. It was like a 2-on-0. No, it was we had a back three, and Wan-Bissaka got back, so it just turned into a back four. It was just like a really unlucky goal. I honestly thought when we tied it 1-1, I thought we were gonna go on and get the winner.
Yeah.
Because that last like 25 minutes, man, like we were all over them. Like you could see the urgency in the players go up when they were down 1-0. And it kind of approached that 65th minute. Again, what are your thoughts on all these substitutions? Why are you bringing on Mason Greenwood to play him on the right side? If you're going to play Greenwood, you have to play him in his natural position. He's not like he has so much expectations on him now because we don't have a deep squad. We have a thin squad. So he's gonna be playing the majority of games this year. I would say he's gonna feature in the majority of them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, do you remember what we did with Welbeck? How he was like an out and out number 9, right? Coming through the academy system, and then we played him on the left.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like when you're young and you're raw, and like he looked very scared out there. You know why? Because like it's the end of the game. There's a lot of pressure. He's not playing in his natural position. We saw him in the preseason play more centrally, and it was a lot better to watch. I think this whole I don't know, he manages some players right, but then he gets so many other things wrong. Don't get me wrong, I definitely want him to stay and succeed, of course. I've never wanted a United manager to succeed more than him because of what he's done for the club in the past and how much he loves the club. You could tell that. So I don't know. We're in a really weird state right now. I don't know if you saw my tweet earlier today, but so obviously Chris Smalling is going out on loan.
Yep.
The list of players that after the Everton game, he said some of these players aren't going to be here. He's cleared out. What is it? 6 or 7, 8 players already?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether we like to say, are they needed or are they not? Like Ander Herrera probably was needed to stay at the time, but we ended up obviously not giving him the contract he wants. He's fulfilling on that promise of saying some of these players are not going to be here. But now it's the board's job and Ed Woodward and the Glazers, who we all know do not like to spend money, to give him replacements. Because yes, you can bring youth forward, but you got to have some sort of experience in your team as well, and then complement the youth that is coming through. We're in a weird state right now, but I feel like the systems are there, the foundations are there for us to kind of, get back into where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be fighting for titles every year.
Yeah.
That one year that we came in second to Manchester City, that wasn't a title race. They beat us in December handily. I think we had one shot on goal, and it was because Fabian Delph decided to miskick a ball in our own box, and it fell to Rashford, and we scored. That's when the title race gone at that point, because we were 11 points out then. It was, you either go from, we were 8 points back, so we would have, if we won, it would have been 5. If we lost, it was 11. We ended up losing. So that wasn't a title challenge.
No.
We haven't seen a title challenge since number 20.
No.
So
I know. It's
weird.
It is a weird one. It is really weird. Just go back to Mason Greenwood quick, because I think that is a really interesting player to talk about. Obviously, no doubt he's got outstanding potential. We saw some of that fulfilled in pre-season. Really promising stuff from him. You can't read much into pre-season, of course, but to see him in amongst senior players performing as he did was massively promising. Obviously, haven't got to see much of him this season, really, apart from that sort of, I think it was about half an hour or something like that against Crystal Palace, where he was completely anonymous, completely not in the game at all, as we know, not playing in his favoured position. And I find it interesting that Ollie's decided to try and sort of force him out of the wing. I mean, he hasn't got really any other choice, really. We haven't got any other right-wing options. Clearly our weakest position. And it's a shame that he's been forced out to go there, especially when he's been saying in the press, how good he is as a natural finisher. He said he's more of a natural finisher than Rashford and Martial. to then go and play him on the right, you lose that. You completely lose that finishing ability that he's been talking up. I don't have this experience. I know this might sound ridiculous, but this experience sort of could hurt him, could hurt Mason Greenwood away. This unneeded burden. A lot of young players that have come through haven't had this sort of pressure. Obviously, Rashford didn't have this pressure. He came through in a Europa League game, of course, in Martial injured the warm-up, thrown in at the last minute. No pressure on Rashford at all, ready to perform in a Europa League game. And obviously flourished, then got more responsibility as it went on, got put, obviously scored a brace against Arsenal, winner against City that season. And Mason Greenwood having this sort of this expectancy on him and this constant, this flow of minutes that he's going to have to sort of keep up with, I don't know if that could hurt him as a player. It's an interesting one.
It's that's a lot of pressure on a 17-year-old to play for the biggest club in the world in a time where they're not at their best.
No, we're in trouble.
We are in big trouble. Yeah, I would say this season, I think top 4. You build him a statue if he gets top 4 with the squad that we have, because we're so thin on so many areas. Like, for example, Luke Shaw goes down, right? Now, I'm not the biggest Luke Shaw fan, but I know what he's capable of because I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have to play Ashley Young there. Whereas, other teams, they can, Kyle Walker could go down, João Cancelo steps up. The amount of replacements other teams like Liverpool and like City have compared to what we do, our whole bench, he's starting to fizzle out like Rojo and Jones. Smalling obviously just went. Our whole bench is going to be kids at some point this season because we have no squad depth. It's very, very worrying, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely is worrying. I think a lot of people will say it's good that we'll have kids on the bench. I don't really agree. I think you've got to have experienced players to come off the bench to see out games. And, obviously, as I just said, with Greenwood, too much responsibility on these players, it doesn't do them any good at all. It just doesn't do them any good.
Mm-hmm.
And it really could hurt us, that. And this is the only sort of bugbear I have with this clear-out. If it was right at the beginning of the window, and perhaps we had some time when we would replace these players, and if I was confident even now that they were being sold, past our window being closed, I would still be, if we had proper owners, I would still be confident. I'd be thinking, this is brilliant from Ollie. He's getting rid of all this dead weight. In January or next summer, we'll start bringing in replacements, and we'll back to having good squad depth. But I don't have that confidence at all. Not in Ed Woodward and not in the Glazers. I don't have any confidence in these players being replaced at all. And I think that's the only worrying thing for this clear out for me, is that we're not going to get players back through the door.
Yeah. What's funny, right? We were 2 penalties away from getting 9 points out of 9. Mm-hmm. Instead, we got 4 points out of 9. Think of the fine margins between a team like Liverpool, who has gone 9 from 9, compared to us, who is 4 from 9 at the moment. And if you've probably seen the schedule that we have or the fixture list that we have after Southampton after the international break. They in the next 5 games after Southampton, I don't know if we win all. I don't even know if we win one of those games. If you look at the 5 teams that we played Leicester, West Ham away, Arsenal, Liverpool, and I forget the 5th team, but Newcastle away.
Oh yeah,
who just beat Spurs at home.
Yep.
So there is no easy game in that next 5 after Southampton. So there is so much pressure now, and this has to do because of the penalty crisis on Monday. Then that led into Crystal Palace game. We ended up dropping points then. So now that there's such a big, just a lot of pressure on the Southampton game, that it didn't have to be this way.
No.
We could, because for us, I feel like Rashford missed the penalty because of what was made out of the whole Pogba situation on Monday. Because players knew the racial abuse that Pogba was getting, and I don't want to get into the racial abuse stuff because that is just despicable.
Yeah.
But I think it did leak into the club a little bit, and I think it played with Rashford's mind when he took that penalty. For me, I think obviously Rashford went 6 for 6 in his first 6 penalties, and that was the first one he missed. I think whenever I watch Martial take a penalty, though, he is our most calm. Like he's our smoothest finisher at the moment. Like he's very calm. So I feel like he would be, and he's our number 9 as well. Like he should be the guy that should be taking the penalties, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
boost his
Pogba
confidence.
just worries. He just worries me with that run up he had last year. It was pissing me off.
Yeah,
Rashford just decides to blast the ball and see where it goes. Like his free kicks
yeah.
do as well. We can't do anything right on set pieces right now.
No,
We can't score
it's
penalties.
horrific. Absolutely
It's
horrific.
it's crazy. It's like we can't score from a corner. I don't even know the last time we scored from a corner.
No,
Um,
it's definitely
I thought,
Actually, no, I remember when it was. Actually, it was on Boxing Day. I think it was Matic off of a corner against Huddersfield. That's the last one I can remember, anyway.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
you
so.
know
That's the
what?
last one I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it was that. Um, we can't hit a free kick. I always thought Pogba should be on free kicks because he brings that sort of quality where he can get the up and over the wall.
Mhm.
If Mata was in the game the other day, I think he probably would have taken that free kick
Yeah.
because we had a lot of free kicks on the edge of the 18,
Yeah.
and he's so good at getting the ball up and over the wall very quickly. So he's good, but like for some reason we're not good on set pieces. Whenever we get a foul on the edge of the on the sideline and we try to cross it in, I thought Harry Maguire was being bought not just because he was great defensively, but he's also that aerial presence you saw for England at the World Cup where he literally won almost every single header, in
Yeah.
the 18 of the opponents. So I don't know. Obviously, it's 3 games in. I don't want to like panic or anything because I do realize the expectations with this squad. You can't really expect them um,
No.
for too much. But like, these are little things that I feel like footballers like scoring penalties, like set pieces. Like we conceded, like that Wolves goal. Like, why didn't no one pick him up in the edge of the box? Isn't he's known for the long
Very
shots?
well known. Very well known for that.
Like, I don't know. Like tactically, maybe has to do with Ole and where he sets up his players on corners and stuff like that. But I don't remember us being like this bad, set piece wise. I
No,
don't
this
remember.
definitely the worst we've been at, and it does make you think. What do we do in training? I mean, that's the sort of basics, isn't it? Really, the corners, things like that. Free kicks whipped in from either side, even free kicks on the edge of the area, as you say. Mata probably the only sort of renowned kick taker we've got at all, free kick taker. And yeah, I don't know. It's those sort of questions that do make you worry. If we can't score from a corner, you can't score from corners. That's a lot of goals gone from a season instantly. You wipe off a lot of potential goals because I think set pieces are underrated in the modern game. You still get a lot of goals off of them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just disappointing. Well, we'll go to the questions on Twitter now. We got quite a few questions here. The first one's from Cathal. Thoughts on Daniel James? Is the first question.
I think he's shown his inexperience at times.
Yeah.
I think both times that he's been labeled as like a diver. He was clipped against Crystal Palace. He should not have
100%.
gotten a yellow card. The Wolves one did look a foul as well. But that one, I think the referee, I could understand why he gave a yellow at that point, but he did get clipped.
Mm-hmm.
So he's shown inexperience at times. I thought in the preseason, like his final ball was just not there, but he scored 2 pretty good goals. The second one, obviously, top corner, right from the edge of the box. That was actually from pressing Crystal Palace in their own end, and we ended up turning the ball over. And then I think it was like Martial to Rashford. Rashford went to Daniel James, and then he scored.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make of the celebration?
I've got to be honest. I can see both sides of it. My instant reaction to it was, well, come on, what are you doing? I think he has got to understand that this is United. Like you can't do these celebrations at 1-1. Yeah, this isn't Swansea anymore. But on the other side, I can see his dad's just died, things like that. He's trying to prove a point. So I can see that side of it. You can just get overwhelmed and caught up in it all, can't you? But no, I think he's learned now from. But you've seen the pictures, obviously, of Martial and Rashford, pulling him away and stuff like that. It's a good lesson to learn for him. But yeah, Dan. I don't know. Overall, Dan James, from my point of view, sort of agree with you. You can definitely see his inexperience at times. He does lack a bit of killer instinct in him. He's still very raw, really quick. Obviously, it's a great attribute for any player to have. To be that quick. And he's got that in his locker already. I actually thought he was playing way too wide against Wolves. I don't know if you saw him. He was literally hugging the touchline, like ridiculously close to it. I think should have been a bit closer on the inside, maybe getting in the half space between the fullback and the centre back. I think he can really cause damage in there. If Pogba or who else can pick him out in there, can really cause damage. I just thought he was too wide for my liking in that game and just really did struggle to make an impact. Against Palace, obviously a brilliant finish. Same against Chelsea, where it was deflected, obviously, but it's good to see that in his game. But yeah, I think he will be successful at Dan James. I think we've just got to be a little bit patient with him because it is clear that he's quite a bit away from being outstanding. Yeah, I think he'll be alright.
Young players can be like 50-50. They either play up to the pressure and the expectation that they have on themselves and from the fans and the club themselves, or they kind of fizzle out. We've seen so many United young players over the last, 6 years since Fergie retired. And, I would say that some have worked out and some really haven't. Obviously, Rashford worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Twan Zabi looks like he's going to be playing this year, which is good. But we've also seen players like Cameron Borthwick-Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen players like Dimitri Mitchell,
mm-hmm.
which, we've seen players that have come here in spurts and then we haven't seen from them again. So I think young players could be 50-50. For me, I don't think he's good enough right now. I think he could, obviously, when a player has that sort of pace, they can literally do anything on the pitch. He just really needs to work on that final ball. Do you ever realize this? So bringing up Daniel James, because he's a wide player, right? And a wide player, he crosses the ball sometimes. Whenever we go down a goal, we always cross the ball. But whenever we're up, right, we never cross the ball. Because why are you going to cross the ball when Rashford or Martial are your other attackers? Because we don't have an aerial presence like we did with Lukaku.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's another mentality issue that we have, is where when we do go down one, we rush so many things. It just looks so disorganized the way we play. And we just cross the ball so many different times. And our fullbacks obviously have to work. Luke Shaw, I think going forward, he could be better defensively. Obviously, he could be better as well.
Definitely.
But our fullbacks, I remember Young can't hit a cross for his life. Valencia, after the 2013 season, couldn't hit a cross for his life. Our fullbacks, you can tell how much the fullbacks in our system mean to us because of the width that they provide for the midfield and the back four and stuff like that. Obviously just went on a tangent because we were just talking about Daniel James.
Yeah, no, that's all right. No, that's all right. No worries.
But it was just making me think because he's a wide player.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we bought him. He was a left wing, I think, for Swansea, and we're playing him on the right. Another player now we are using out of position.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you the amount of times United over the last 6 seasons we've used players out of position. We used Ashley Young at striker one game against Spurs away.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw him do that. I think it was Louis van Gaal.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Oh my God. You bring me back to the 0-0s at home. At least we were getting points.
Yeah, I know, literally. I know, we got an FA Cup as well. Can't really, have to look back on those as good days now, which is a little bit sad, really. But yeah, no, I do agree with you. The whole crossing thing, I do agree as well. We completely rush it. I think there is a bit of a mentality problem. Whose fault that is? The players or the manager? I think you can sort of blame both. I think you've got to put a bit of blame on the manager, though. You've got to try and condition this sort of winning mentality into the players, and you can definitely see there is a trouble with that. Just the lack of urgency, or as you say, it is rushed. There is a bit of urgency, but it's just poorly executed. It's too panicked and too rushed. So yeah, there's definitely a problem with that. And it's really hard to sort of deal with that when you've got so many young players hovering around the squad now. And when we haven't really got that much experience now. Obviously all this dead wood that's going is the experience we've got in the squad, and you can't win anything with kids, as Alan Hansen famously said. Obviously proved wrong in the end. Hopefully it'll be proved wrong again now. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one.
It's exciting but worrying
It
at the
is. It
same
is.
time
It is in
because
both
it's
ways.
unknown quality.
Yeah, definitely. Got another question here from Tweener. When do you think Greenwood will start playing a bigger part this season? Which we've sort of alluded to.
Now.
Yeah,
It's gonna be now because we sold Lukaku on the last day of the window, and then we loaned out Alexis Sanchez, who was really our only, I don't know, not like a hope to kind of get back to his Arsenal form, but like he was the only guy that was like our backup right now, and he was training and stuff like that. So he's gonna play a massive part. Same with Angel Gomez. Hopefully, I want to see both of them because, man, in the preseason, I don't know if you remember, but like Angel Gomez did something in the box, bro. It was like right outside the 6 yard box, and he like stopped on the ball and like did some sort of like 360 and almost went through like 4 Spurs players or 4 Inter players, whoever we were playing at the time.
I think it
I
was AC
forget.
Milan. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it
yeah,
was.
AC Milan. He did something ridiculous on the ball. I've never seen that before from someone like a 17 or 18-year-old from United. So, the young players, especially Gomes and Greenwood, both very, very exciting. I would just, like we said before, please just play him at striker. Please play him at the number 9 if you're gonna play this guy. Maybe do we have to just switch our formation? Do we maybe have to play 2 strikers and maybe play more of a narrow formation? I wouldn't mind that, to be honest, because if the ball is being moved like around in the middle of the park, and then your fullbacks, obviously our fullbacks are very important. That's how you're stretching the play. And then like if you're in the middle of the park a lot, like you're picking out passes on a deep block. So that potentially could be good if they play maybe Rashford and Greenwood at striker this weekend with Gomes right underneath. And then you could play maybe like, a holding midfielder and like McTominay or Pogba, and then vice versa. Something like that I think could work, but I don't know. I think is like the first manager that really hasn't tinkered with his formation. Like I remember Van Hal, we used to have a different formation every week.
Yeah.
Same thing with Mourinho.
Yeah, Mourinho used to go 3-back quite a few times, didn't he? I think he went 3-back against Chelsea at home in 2017.
West Ham.
Yeah, we beat
West Ham away.
And there you go, West Ham away. And yeah, you're right. I don't know. I think I've got to be a bit flexible. So I don't know. That's not not really great to see from Ole. I mean, it's good to see that he's got confidence in his system, I guess. But yeah, just going back to Greenwood a minute. Obviously, yeah. When do you think he'll start playing a bigger part of the season? As you say now, I guess he's going to start on Saturday. I don't know who else he can start really. Up front. I'm just trying to think, unless he puts Rashford down the middle and then maybe Mata and James on the wings. I'm not sure, but
please,
I'd like to
Mata
see
on the wing, please. I thought we had enough of that.
I know. It's not going to end until we get Jadon Sancho, which even is wishful thinking in itself that we'll
Which
get.
Would be 150 mil.
Yeah. Oh, we so needed the right winger this summer. Can't believe we didn't get one.
We got rid of 7 players and we only replaced 3 of them, and one of them probably doesn't even crack our squad, and that's Daniel James. If we're realistically talking, like a 20-year-old winger, unless you're at the quality of Jadon Sancho, you're not going to be starting for United week in and week out. But of course, he has to do that now because we didn't reinforce in the summer. You remember that whole week where it was like, we could get Bruno Fernandes and Dybala. Like, that just seems like so long ago thinking about it now.
I know.
Just, it's just crazy. Like, we would have been so set. I think we still needed a midfielder.
Yeah.
Even if we got those 2 players. But like, our squad would be just so much deeper, so much better with those 2 players in. I feel like the Bruno Fernandes situation reminds me of Fabinho, where this is a
Yeah,
player that we've scouted right for a year, and when the time comes to pay the fee, we don't do it because we don't want to spend the money. We spent 70 mil net this summer, and it keeps going down because we keep selling players.
yeah,
So how how do they do this? We were 20 points off City. We needed Josie needed like multiple positions
yeah.
filled, right? Didn't get it. We bought a third string goalie from Stoke, Dalot, who is a young right back who we don't even play at right back now. We play him at right wing when we use him.
Yeah.
And then Fred, who is 50 million and we haven't even seen the best of him yet.
Mhm.
So that was their summer when we were quote unquote challenging City for the title and trying to close the gap.
Mhm.
The gap even got bigger because look what happened. We didn't reinforce. City bought one player. That's because that's all they need. They got all their spending done already. Um, it's just really frustrating, man. Like every summer going in, because like we're Man United, so if the journalists and the newspapers want to get clicks, you just link us with everybody,
Yeah.
and you kind of get excited every summer because we've had multiple summers where we were like 100% confident on Griezmann, 100% confident on Bale, when he was a lot younger,
Yeah.
Tony Cruz, Thiago, like all these top players that we've been linked with.
Mhm.
Ramos, Danny Alves, who use us for contracts, Ronaldo every single summer. It just gets frustrating because you're never getting these players
Uh.
ever.
Yeah. And I think Ole actually fueled this fire this summer as well by sort of promising us this massive rebuild. In the wake of that Everton the 4-0 loss at Goodison back in April, obviously promised us this huge rebuild, which obviously hasn't taken place. Whether you blame that on Ole, whether you blame that on the Glazers, which I think you should blame on the Glazers, doesn't really matter. You have got to put a bit of blame on Ole for sort of raising our expectations this summer. And obviously we haven't lived up to them at all. It looks like we might have attempted for Dybala, pulled out. Might have attempted Bruno Fernandes. We don't actually know if we were even in for Bruno Fernandes. A lot of
I don't think we
speculation.
were.
No, a lot of
We didn't send
speculation
an
that.
offer.
No, exactly. The Portuguese press was sort of peddling that one. Not even sure if we were in sort of remotely interested in this summer. So yeah, it was a really disappointing window. You got to blame the Glazers. You got to blame Ed Woodward for that. Okay, we've got another question here from Demille. Do you see Ole winning a trophy in his time here? I'm guessing he's put. If so, what and when? When do you see us seriously competing for the Premier League again? So the first question: do you see Ole winning a trophy in his time here? What and when?
I would say, listen, if he's having a poor season, right, and they decide to sack him, I'm gonna go nuts because they didn't back him to begin with. So this is just not fair for him to, with the squad that he has, he can't compete for trophies yet with the squad that he has. Yeah, we can go on a little cup run, maybe the Carabao Cup or the Europa League could be an option. I think the Europa League might be our best way to get into the Champions League next year.
Yeah,
Like again, another 2016 where we had to do that. So maybe those two competitions, the FA Cup, maybe the Premier League. I hate to say it, but as long as Pep is in the Premier League, man, we're not going to see a Premier League for a couple of years at least. And we don't even have like the simplest of things, like in the boardroom. We don't even have like a football. City have 3. Liverpool have 2. We don't even have 1.
no,
How are we the biggest club in the world? We don't even have a football department. It's just like I always say this: we're the biggest club in the world, and we get ran like we are a League Two team. We
mm-hmm.
literally are run. Did you see like I think it was like United Extra. I think they said um we couldn't work on more than one transfer at one time.
Yeah,
What kind of club is that? How can you not focus in? How can you not multitask? You are worth $4.5 billion or pounds, whatever you want to go by.
yeah,
How can you not multitask and work on two different things on the side? It frustrates me so much because like I know we're the biggest club in the world, Obviously, Real Madrid and Barcelona fans, they can think what they want. But if you saw the recent quote, we have 1.1 billion fans, right?
Yep.
That is ridiculous. That's 1/7 of the
I
planet
know.
are united. This is why there will never be any pressure on the Glazers to sell the club, to try to win now, because they have everything they need. They have the fans, they have the money, they've gotten everything they needed from the club already. They take money out of the club like it's nothing. It's so sickening. It really is. I've never seen, and so I haven't, and I go on tangents so many times, so I do apologize for
No,
that.
that's all right. No, you're spot on with what
But
you're saying.
yeah, I started watching them the year after Moyes because I'm from America, right?
Hmm.
So I didn't watch football growing up, but the World Cup, obviously watching the U.S. Men's national team play, got kind of into it in the World Cup, picked team. I liked the way United played because I got to see the end of Ryan Giggs, the 4 games that he managed. So I
Hmm.
thought that was pretty cool. Picked them as the team that I wanted to support. Haven't seen anything since. I've seen 1 Europa League, 1 FA Cup, 1 Carabao Cup, and 1 Community Shield
Yeah.
out of 6 seasons. And it's just very frustrating when you think about it. 4 trophies in 6 years, none of them being the two that we really want, which is the Champions League and the Premier League. It's very frustrating as a fan because we keep getting promised every single year different things and we don't get them. I didn't believe Ollie's quote one bit, by the way, when he said that, you know, well, actually, maybe I look a little naive now because I said I don't think all these players are going to be leaving because it's hard to get rid of 7 or 8 players on massive wages. But he actually ended up doing that, which I commend him for it.
Yeah.
But again, you need the football department, you need the people in charge to be able to replace those players accordingly to the positions that they played.
Exactly.
And we are not the kind of club that does that. We replace Ronaldo with Michael Owen on a free, Orbiton, and Valencia, which was like 18 million or something like that at the time.
Yeah.
That's where our 90 million went for replacing the best player in the world at the time. What is that? So all these fans, and again, it's a tangent. Why are we picking on Paul Pogba? You really want us to sell this guy? Do you know who we'd be replacing him with? We would probably replace him with James Garner. We would probably not use the money at all, and we would use a youth player in his. That is literally what would happen. I don't trust our club to spend the money
Yeah.
that we get from transfers. Like we sold, like if you think of the ambition of this club right now, right? They sold our starting striker, whether you like him or not. From any of the fans that are listening,
Hmm.
whether you like him or not, they sold him on the last day of the transfer window, and they've just sold any sort of backup options we just had and let them go. And they've only replaced 3 players. So that's the ambition of the club right now. Is it's profit. We are profit FC. That is literally Manchester United at the moment. Um, I wouldn't see success. And just to answer the question, I wouldn't see it. A little cup here and there, I wouldn't be surprised because you can go on a cup run.
Hmm.
But I would say 4 years, 3 years at least for the Premier League because this is a huge rebuild. This is the biggest rebuild in football right now. The squad that we have, we
Yeah.
still have players from 4 different managers. That's a problem. Like
Yeah.
you have four different manager tactics, which that's why they buy those players to fit those tactics. It's just a mess right now.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing. I know you might not agree with this. A lot of people hated Jose Mourinho. I'm very on record as being a massive fan of his. I don't think we have this problem if the Glazers were competent. If the Glazers had simply backed Mourinho after that season where we finished second, which was a season sort of tarnished by the loss in the FA Cup final.
Yes, I agree.
But what still should be looked at as a very successful season. Finishing second with that squad is a successful season in my eyes. And if we just backed him, if we just brought, say Harry Maguire this couple of years ago, just that bit earlier, if we'd bought the Ivan Perisic, these players are obviously, if you like them or not, if we do bring in these players that Mourinho wanted, I don't think we're having this discussion sat here now. And I think it all comes back to the Glazers. It all comes back to Ed Woodward and their inability to replace players, to bring players in, and to back managers. It's just it's a shame. It really is a shame. They are using us as a piggy bank, using Old Trafford and using everything at the club as collateral for personal loans. Sucking $1 billion out while Man City owners have put $1 billion in the same time period.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's not right, and I do struggle to see where we go under the Glazers. Can we win? Can we win another Premier League title under the Glazers? I'm not sure, and that's worrying when you think they don't have to sell. When are they going to go? Well, when are they going to go? I can't ever see them leaving. And why would they really? As you say, they've got the fans, they've got the money. There is no need for them to leave. And the NFL team they own as well are having the same sort of problems.
They're awful every single year.
Yeah,
Tampa Bay. They literally have, I think we have like the playoff system here.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to the playoffs I think one time in the last 9 years. So it's kind of they own two terrible teams right now because they're just not ambitious enough.
Yeah.
I would also say to the Mourinho point, I would I followed obviously a lot of United accounts. You were obviously one of the original United accounts I have followed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had dialogue with, but I would put out tweets saying like it's not just Mourinho that had to go because it did get to the point where he was so toxic and made the club such a negative atmosphere that I think he did have to go. But I do agree that I've always stated that it's not just the manager's fault. You've had one constant in the last 6 years, and you've had 4 managers. You've had one constant. That's the Glazers, and that's Ed Woodward. Those are the two things that have stayed the same over the last 6 years. Obviously, players coming in and out, transfer fees in and out, managers in and out as well. But it was always, you're not going to do anything. And it's so crazy because for someone like me who supported the club for 6 years, I would classify myself as like a diehard fan because this is my life. I love United so much. And I know a lot about what happened during the Fergie years because I've just watched video and I've read articles and stuff like that over the years. We were always able to, kind of forget about the Glazers from 2005 to about 2013 because we had the protection blanket of Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the best managers of all time, to bail us out there. I think if you've read the stat where Fergie's net spend was an average of 19 million over his career. So it wasn't like, we did shell out money for Rio Ferdinand, Wayne Rooney, Ronaldo we paid 13 million for. Like we have spent. I'm not going to say we haven't, but we haven't spent accordingly and not enough for the club because we take in 600 million pounds a year. That's our average revenue every single season, and it just keeps on going up. So there's not enough financial backing of the club. It's more everything is in their pocket, and they continue to take money out of the club. I think we're the third in terms of like clubs that are in debt. I think we're a third. I think Barca's even in worse situation. They're about to sign Neymar somehow. I don't know how they got the money to do that. I see like a little bit of financial fair play coming for them pretty soon, I think. But I digress. With United, what were we talking about? Like, what was the original question? Was it the
I can't remember. I did that. It was I think it was do you see Ole winning a trophy here, and when do you see us competing for the Prem again?
I think it all depends on do they give him the time. If they play carousel with their managers again, and they sack him in December, if they sack him at the end of the season, I think that's really foolish. That's really, really ignorant of them as well, not really knowing the situation that is at hand. Again, that goes back to the lack of footballing people at the club. And I don't like this whole, obviously, last January, we were promised they were looking at a director of football, right?
Yeah.
Where is he? It's been 9 months. Where is our director of football? Who, by the way, would probably just be a scapegoat. for Ed Woodward, so people would would stop blaming him
Mhm.
for our transfer policies. We don't even have a great scouting department. Um, I heard a story that a United, so this player was a United fan growing up,
Mhm.
and he had a tour of Old Trafford, right? Because United were willing to sign him and talk to him,
Mhm.
and I guess his name is Matt Judge, right? Is the guy that is kind of like in Ed Woodward's corner a little bit,
Mhm.
talking to the transfers. And Matt Judge said to the player, "What is your name?" And for a club like Manchester United to say that to a player, if I was the agent, I think this is what the agent did. He just said, "All right, we'll take a quick tour, and I think we're just gonna go." Because if you don't even know the player that's coming in, the
Mhm.
player's name, that just shows like all of their all of their like priorities are at the business side of the club. They have no idea what they're doing on the football inside. And it's kind of weird too because once Sir Alex Ferguson left, that is when Manchester United really went like big and beyond when it came to the commercial side of the club, where they obviously like went to the London offices. Um, we don't have a football department, obviously. David Gill also left. He was the previous our previous like guy that handled transfers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it wasn't like one loss; it was like two gut punches um, at that time, and we had an agent squad at the time as well. Um, I would think I think things would have been better if we brought in Pep Guardiola when Sir Alex retired, because that was his first season at Bayern, that 2013-14 season, and I think him or Mourinho, one of the two, if because Mourinho is better when he has like a squad already, and he loves to have his squads as like defense first. And we kind of had decent defenders at the time. Like we still had Rio for that last season. We still had obviously like Johnny Evans, Chris Smalling, like when they were a lot younger and not as many injuries for Phil Jones.
Mhm.
But I think it would have been a lot better of a situation for Mourinho or Pep if they came in after Sir Alex. I thought David Moyes was out of his depth. I thought
Completely.
he was never ready for the job.
No.
Like managing Everton and managing Man United, light. Uh, I apologize to any Everton fans that may. I don't even know if you're gonna listen to this, but like, we are so far ahead in terms of like the status of the job. Manchester United's job it should be the biggest job in the country. It should be behind the England managerial job, obviously, because national team comes first. It should be the biggest job. Manchester
100%.
United is the biggest club in England. It will always be that way, unless City go on to win 5 Champions Leagues and wins titles for the next 20 years. But I don't know. I want another rant there,
No,
and
that's all right. It's
I
just
just finally get my thoughts out now.
yeah, no, it's fine. Completely agree with what you're saying. I think it's about time we really did start pushing this Glazer thing more heavily because they are completely running the club into the ground. What I was going to compare it to a minute ago, as you say, the sort of the footballing the footballing brains at the top of our board, obviously not very present. It's all very business driven. Um, due to the size of the club, obviously, and the sort of commercial potential that we've got, it is very business driven. I think one club you can directly compare the situation to is Liverpool a few years ago, who the fans despised FSG, the owners, John Henry. They absolutely despised him, despised sort of the direction they were going in, the more commercial, obviously without stereotyping here, American owners, same as the Glazers. Not knowing much about football, not knowing much about the history of the club, not understanding that, and another giant like United is in Liverpool. And in the past few years, obviously employed Michael Edwards I think is his name, to start dealing with the transfers for the club. Complete turnaround. Liverpool are back on track. They've started being backed more in the transfer market, and they're doing well now. Obviously, challenged for the title last season, won a Champions League, and that is all we need. But for some reason, the Glazers seem so abstinent to try anything like that, to try and get any sort of footballing brain up at the top and sort of employ the correct people. The director of football that you mentioned, obviously, the names we heard linked with it were I think Rio Ferdinand, Darren Fletcher. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That is absolutely
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Why would you ever appoint someone who has no experience in that role to do that job? And obviously, it was rumoured that this role wouldn't even be like a director of football role. It would simply be recommending players to the Glazers, which they wouldn't sign anyway. And it's just
Exactly.
complete power with the Glazers, and they've also got Woodward, their little puppet, working beneath them. To try and help keep their image good. It's so sad. It is just so sad to see our recruitment in staff isn't smart. The recruitment in players isn't smart, and it all comes back to the Glazers at the top, and it's
Mm-hmm.
such a shame.
Yeah, there's not enough footballing people at the club. I always hate this idea that like it has to be a Man United legend or
Yeah, I
player
know.
that has played here that has to get a position in the footballing side of the club,
Mhm.
which I don't even know if it's present because where have we seen the evidence that there's a footballing side of Manchester United right now? But Darren Fletcher, a player that yeah, he played for us a couple seasons, but I mean, if we are appointing someone like a director of football, I don't care if you played for the club or not. If you are the top of your class and you are one of the best director of footballs out there, for me, I think the perfect guy to get would be Van de Sar. The reason why is
Yeah.
because he does stuff with Ajax already, and he's also played for United, so he does know the club.
Mhm.
He's probably the perfect choice, honestly, for that director of football position because he has experience working in it. It's work, and he knows the club as well. That is probably the best choice that they could go with. I don't even know if he's been linked, um, but that's my first choice. It's definitely Van de Sar, especially what's been happening at Ajax.
Yeah, I can definitely see if we were ever going to do a former player, which is what we look like we seem to want to do, which is strange in itself for me because I think the better option, even beyond Van der Sar, would be to just go and get the best director of football there possibly is. I wouldn't know who that is to be honest, but the club should know. Man United should know who the best director of football is, and they should go and get them. But they seem to be obsessed with getting these former players into the club. But yeah, I can see why you'd want Van der Sar. If there's any former player I'd take, obviously it'd be him. Got a bit of experience in that role, rather than someone like Ferdinand who's got no experience outside of playing the game and sitting in a chair and watching games from the BT Sport box. Why would you ever put him? It does just baffle me how that name has even been mentioned. And
Right?
the same
How
with
is that
Darren
even a
Fletcher.
candidate?
I know, it's just ridiculous. I mean, that's the Glazers for you, really, isn't it? Just stupid thinking and stupid recruitment.
Yeah, it's honestly ridiculous. Like some of the candidates that we see for some of the jobs that are open, it does like blow my mind. Just the ineptitude from the club, just
Mhm.
like the naivety. Like they think that if they appoint someone that's a former player, that the fans are gonna they're gonna want obviously the fans are gonna want him to do well, but deep down the fans all know that this person or whatever club legend would go there in that position would not be good enough for the job. It's nothing against the person
Nope.
who the former legend.
Yep.
It's just you literally have to have the qualities to do a certain job at that level. This isn't like the director of football job for a League Two side. This is one of the biggest rebuilds we've ever had to do at a time that's super crucial. Um, at a rebuild that should have happened in 2013, and it's not because we just tried to outspend in that first couple of years with Van Hall. But this rebuild has been coming for a long time. They should have done this a while ago, and now we're almost into the next decade where we are still nowhere even close from where we should be. Um, and we're going to continue to see it. I just don't see anything changing at the club. We could do as much as we want about the Glazers. We could talk as much on this podcast. We can unfollow Man United on Twitter. We could, roam the streets like they did in 2005. It doesn't matter to them. They are one of the only ownerships I've ever seen that actually is so far away from their fans. It's ridiculous. I don't remember the last time we've ever gotten a quote from one of the Glazer family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the last time. They just operate in shadow. They're like, everyone says the Glazers. That's literally who they are to everybody. It's not like, some people probably don't even know their first name because they're just referred to as the Glazers because they're affiliated with a club that is in such disarray right now because of the things that they've done over the last 14 years since 2005. And it's not like we're just starting to complain about it. Man United fans have been on the Glazers since when they were winning Champions League.
Yeah.
When they were winning titles back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. We care about, yes, obviously winning is fun. We love it. And it's a great time. But we know that winning will eventually stop. Teams go in spurts of winning things. That 25-year run from Fergie is not going to happen again. You're just not going to have 25 years of pretty much 95% being on the top, winning trophies every single season. We got in the top. Think about this stat. 24 years in a row, we made the top 4. The first season Sir Alex Ferguson retired, that record was broken. Think of all of the teams that have not beaten us at Old Trafford. The amount of records that have been broken in the last 6 seasons. Crystal Palace just broke that record on Saturday, by the way.
Yeah.
First time in 28 years they beat United, I think, at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
First time. It happened to Southampton. It's happened to Brighton. It's happened to Cardiff. All these fucking relegation sides, man. It's so annoying because Old Trafford used to be a fortress, and it's not anymore. It is a ground where teams know now they can go and get points. That's the worst thing you want to give to a team in relegation, a chance at actually gaining points. Because when they do that, man, like, in the world, there is nothing more frustrating than watching a team that's like Burnley and like park the bus and sit back and waste times for like since the 15th minute. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. And this is what happens when you give teams a chance. It's so frustrating to me. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And back in the day, teams like that, even teams who would try and attempt to sit behind the ball, we just break them down. Simple as that. You get Giggs, or you get Ronaldo, or you get Tevez, you get Rooney, you get Berbatov, pop up, goal. 1-0, that's it. We can defend that lead. We could defend that lead valiantly. I mean, that was just how it was back then. It was always, no matter who it was, you'd have the confidence to beat them. These days, we're now speculating whether or not we can get a point at St Mary's, which is just, it's obscene, really, isn't it?
Think of how far we've dropped. Think of it.
I know.
Like we're thinking a draw at Southampton might actually be not a bad result considering the circumstances where realistically every game we should be aiming for 3 points. Every single game.
Yeah.
And I mean, have you seen the record of all these last 15 games?
Awful. 1-3, is it? I think it's 1-3. Yeah.
That was Chelsea. First game. I think it was Watford where we were outplayed at home, but we were lucky to win that game 2-1.
Yeah.
We were very terrible. We were awful in in those two halves. And I think the third win was Fulham, 3-0.
Could have been. Yeah. Oh, it might have been West Ham. I remember that. Do you remember that game as well? Where we were horrific in that game as well. And
I think we won 1-0 off an own goal, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
I believe.
I think we scored a penalty, for some reason, Pogba, and then Antonio hit the bar for West Ham. And so I just remember, but the end of that season was just horrific overall when we've started sort of in similar fashion, sadly. Again, I don't know. It's tough times ahead, I think, and I think we've just got to endure it. And when is it going to end? I don't know. It's so hard, as I've already said in this podcast, but I've got to exaggerate it. Why and when would the Glazers ever leave? They don't
have to.
No, exactly. They don't care what we think. They couldn't give a shit what we think. It's obvious that they don't care what we think. The Arsenal owner, Stan Kroenke, his son, I believe called Josh Kroenke, is it?
Josh.
Yeah, Josh put out that that statement saying that we're going to go and get players. They did it. I mean, that's a sign of an owner who's hated, by the way, similar to the Glazers, but an owner who still, cares a bit. And we'll put that money in and get players for the club. The Glazers that completely out of touch with us, and they will never do what the Arsenal owners did, and sort of connect with the fans and level with them. They simply won't do that because that's just the type of people they are. And it's been this constant battle between us and the owners from 2005. As soon as they took over, it's been raging for 14 years, and it's going to go for another 14, another 14, another 14, and in that time, can I see us winning again? I'm not sure, because as you already said, Sir Alex Ferguson was that man who was producing absolute miracles for this club, and I think Mourinho could have been that man if given a little bit more backing. But obviously Sir Alex is the greatest ever. Mourinho for me the second greatest ever. Couldn't quite replicate what Sir Alex did, and just didn't get the backing. And we're seeing it again with Ole now. No backing, and it's such a shame.
It's so funny how Arsenal fans like get on Kroenke and stuff. They've bought 13 players in the last 2 summers. Think of that.
It's crazy.
I think we've won 13 players in the last 4 seasons.
Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe that.
Something like that. The only person who I think got sufficiently backed for us was Van Gaal, and I think he did get sufficiently backed.
Yes, he was.
And
he did. He got 200 million that first summer.
Yeah.
Or it was like 150 the first summer, 200 the next summer.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the players he was buying. Like Di Maria was being forced out by Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really want to be here. Falcao we got on, I think it was a loan.
Yeah.
Then the next summer we signed Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, Darmian. Darmian we bought for 20 mil. Schweinsteiger we bought for, I forget how much we bought, like a 31-year-old Schweinsteiger for. Schneiderlin was like 30 mil. Memphis was like
Blind.
Yep, Blind. Martial.
Yeah, probably the only successful one, really.
Yeah, Martial. Yeah, because he's the one. I think. Is he the only one that's here from that crop of players that he bought?
I really think he could be. Just off the top of my head, I can't think. I know Rojo actually still here. Darmian on his way out, I think. Although we don't really know. I don't really know what's going on with Darmian.
We've said this for 2 seasons now. I don't know where he is.
No.
Like, I feel like Fred is going to become that Darmian-esque player where we don't know where he is for the majority of the time. He comes out of nowhere, plays a game, and then is linked with, like, moves away. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, that would be a massive shame if that does happen to Fred, because it's clear with his performances in the Champions League last season, specifically that game at PSG away and also Barcelona at home, and him and McTominay were both brilliant. There's potential to Fred. I think you put him in a midfield 3 with Pogba and McTominay. It's a decently balanced midfield 3. You also then get Pogba with a little bit more freedom, which is what you want in that left central midfield role. And you take Fred out of the equation. We're forced to play this 4-2-3-1 with this pivot with Pogba, and it does not work for him at all. And when Pogba plays bad, we play bad. They're pretty closely linked.
I would say the only game that it was Chelsea where Pogba wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
And we were really good in that second half. Like, he didn't have to do, like, obviously he had the 2 assists against Chelsea in the second half, but he wasn't particularly great in that game. We still won 4-0. But again, like we said before, like, it could have easily been 2-0 or 2-0 before the Rashford penalty. So, again, again, like I said before, it's fine margins. Like, Chelsea hit the post twice, could have easily won that game. Then we're looking at, 1 point out of our first 3?
Yep.
If you think about it, like, just it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then this upcoming 5 games after Southampton, I can legit see us pick up 3 points in those 5 games. And it might be 2 draws. It might be 3 draws and then 2 losses. Because I think Leicester is at home, which I don't know if you remember the Leicester game last season. They played us off the park in that first game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
We got pretty lucky with the penalty. The Liverpool game, I don't know if we're away or at home, but that's going to be a tough game, of course. If we go to Anfield, I can't see us getting anything from it.
Nope.
West Ham away or West Ham at home, again, is another tough game. Newcastle away, again, a team that just took points off of Spurs. We always go to Newcastle. I know we did beat them 2-0 last year away from home, but this is such a different Ole team that he's had, because during that 2-0, we were flying at the time. I think we won 6 straight before that game.
Yeah.
And we were kind of in that midst. It's crazy because we won 14-2-1 in the first 17 games, and in the
Incredible.
last 15 we've only won 3.
I know.
Incredible. Like the scenes have changed almost a full season, really. If you think about 32 games,
Yep.
obviously, there's cup games in there as well, but 32 games we have played in the league that would not have been that wouldn't have been a top 4 season, I don't believe.
No. No, wouldn't have been. Definitely not. It's just a shame that honeymoon period came to an end. Ole's at the wheel was ringing around. I mean, it would have been alright if it had just carried on.
The excitement at Old Trafford, I haven't heard Old Trafford like that loud in so long. Especially, I don't know if you remember the Burnley game. We were down 2-0,
Yeah.
like the 85th minute,
2-2,
scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
At that time, because everything was flying for us, I legit thought we were going to score the third, and I think Old Trafford would have like crumbled to the ground because of how loud it was going to be if we scored that third goal. Because, I mean, that brings you back memories of like Fergie time,
100%.
of taking games away from teams who thought they've won it. And Burnley were a disgrace in that game too. They were wasting time in the 30th minute. I can't stand Burnley. I hope they get relegated. I hate them and Southampton. But Southampton because they sell all their good players to Liverpool.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Why? They sold us one player. Or no, they sold us 2 players. And they both haven't really worked out. Luke Shaw and Schneiderlin.
Awful. Both awful, both of them. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and there was just that air of confidence around Ole when he first came in. It was that sort of throwback to the old Ferguson era. It's just such a shame that, first of all, we should not have appointed him as permanent manager in March, especially off the back of a couple of losses. It's such a typical Glazer move, typical Woodward move to appoint the manager off the back of a couple of losses to try and take the attention off them. It's such a typical, predictable move from them. And, Woodward was, when Mourinho was sacked, Woodward was constant. We'll not announce it to the end of the season. We will not announce a new manager to the end of the season. Did exactly that. Just broke another promise. Just announced the manager mid-March. And as I said, off the back of 2 losses, it's so obvious what they're doing as well. That move to try and be popular with the fans. Appoint Ole, and because he's a club legend, obviously you're going to win over fans by doing that. It's ridiculous, just completely ridiculous. I think if we hadn't appointed Ole, actually announced him in March, I'm not sure. Would we have hit that poor form that we had at the end of last season? I don't know. It's such a tough one to sort of to lay it out. And
who
even
would have been our manager at the time? Because Poch, he is very in love with Spurs especially they went to the Champions League final.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would have left Spurs this year. Who would we have gotten?
I think it would have been Conte.
Conte.
I think it would have been Conte. I'd have loved for it to be Conte.
Again, it's another manager that kind of is pragmatic in the way that he, he sets up his teams and stuff like that. No doubt about it. That season with Chelsea, when he played that 5 at the back, he switched up after the third or fourth game. I think they lost 3-0 to Arsenal away.
Mm-hmm.
They switched it up, and they went on like that 15-game winning streak, pretty much. And that was a year where you can go on a run like that and still win the title in December. Now it's like, we have a two-team race now where, both City had 99 points and Liverpool had 98. So, it's a much more competitive league right now. So that's something that's different.
Mm-hmm.
I just lost my train of thought for no reason. Our manager. Yeah. I don't know who else is out there. Like Laurent Blanc. Nah, not a fan.
No.
We could have probably poached. You know what I think it would have been a former player again.
I know.
That's what I think it would have been.
I think that's what they would have probably done to just be popular again. Just that typical stupid thing to do. But yeah, I know it's a weird one. Anyway, one more question. Peter asks, who is an absolute must buy in January? Not that I can actually see us doing any business in January. I'll ask the question anyway. Who is an absolute must buy in January?
Jadon Sancho.
Yeah.
I mean, like, did you see tweets saying that the United are targeting him for January?
No, I
That's
didn't.
not.
I didn't actually.
Yeah, it's. That's what I've heard from multiple United accounts that United were preparing a bid for in January, but you know when United prepare for a bid,
Takes a few
it
years.
means it takes years. So you know, I don't know. I think definitely a right winger, definitely a midfielder. Desperately need a midfielder. Um, whether you get that player on loan or not, I don't really care. A player that I'm always like fascinated with is Awar at Lyon.
Yeah.
He partnered Ndombele in that midfield last year, and
Mhm.
they worked quite well. Um, he's kind of like that player that he can go forward a little bit. He can drop back. He's that perfect versatile midfielder that we kind of need. He's very good on the ball as well. Very smooth, very calm. That's someone I would definitely look at. Center backs, I would look at because I saw Arsenal were looking at Upamecano.
Mhm.
Oh no, we have center backs. What am I talking about? A left back we probably need as well because Luke Shaw. I don't want to use Ashley Young. I really don't want to see Ashley Young on the field. Um, a left back that I would look for. I think we were linked with Danny Rose, something
Yeah.
like that. Um, I guess just get a left back, a midfielder. I mean, we all know but we know what's going to happen though. We know we're not signing anyone.
I know.
We just, especially in January, you gave this club 4 months to go and sign a player, and we did 3 signings, each 1 month, like 1 month for each player that we signed.
Yeah.
What makes you think we're going to sign like 2 players in January? It's just not happening, unfortunately.
No. As I said, yeah, I don't think we'll be doing much business in January. But if there was one player who would be the must-buy for me in January, it would be Christian Eriksen. Obviously, contract up at Spurs next summer.
Yes.
Daniel Levy, he might just want to get rid of him. You might pick him up for 40 million or something as cheap as that, which seems obscene for a player of Eriksen's quality. Perfect number 10, slot in behind Martial. That creative player that we need to obviously break down those deeper blocks to create those chances. The massive lack of creativity that we've got at the minute. We need a player like Eriksen, sort of a direct replacement to what Mata was a few years ago. An excellent number 10, a creative player that can obviously pop up at the goal as well. And again, Eriksen, brilliant on set pieces. Obviously quite infamous for his poor corners actually, but free kicks very good. And yeah, I think offers we definitely need a player of that profile, just a proper classic number 10, a well-rounded number 10 who can create chances. So yeah, Eriksen would be my answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we've been rambling on for about an hour now. A bit of a longer episode, but that's all right. It's we've got it all off our chests, I think. So yeah, so Chris, thank you for coming on. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Yeah, you're welcome on anytime as well in the future. A few games down the line, we'll have to see what's going on, see if it improves. Anyway, yeah, thank you guys for listening. Be sure to subscribe and peace. Cheers.